All right, guys, today we're going to talk about getting financing for your hook lift truck and the mistake that most people make. They think like operators, not like lenders. Today, we want to break down this video how you should think like a lender so that they can get you approved no matter what stage this deal is in. So I'm Marlon with Quality Trucking Equipment, and if you're new here to the channel, the only thing we do is build hook lift trucks. Today, we're going to talk about a really exciting subject, and that's financing your truck. Now, guys, let me be right up front with you. I am not a financial person. I'm not a lender. I'm a hard-working fool just like you. So I don't know a lot about this subject, but I have done a lot of research, and I've interviewed some of our lenders and asked them some good questions and asked them a lot of things that they shared with me, and I want to share that with you today. Now, you're going to see me do something just a little bit different today, as I've got a piece of paper here. I've got a couple papers here, and I'm going to reference this once in a while. I don't think I've ever done this. I like to get everything in my head and share it with you, but there's so much information, and I don't want to miss anything because we got lots of good stuff to share with you. So, right off the bat, I would say that probably 95% of the people that come here to buy a truck need to get financing. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I totally get it. You know, I'm one of you guys. I know what it's like to take out a loan on something that you want to purchase. I'm that guy too. I don't pay cash for everything. The few people that do pay cash is really, really rare. And let me tell you, when a guy comes in here and pays cash for a truck or writes a check, we actually write his name on the wall over there. And there's not that many names on that wall. So guys, this is something that's very common, financing. I would say that most of our deals, if they're going to fall apart, they fall apart at financing. It's sometimes really difficult to get the financing that you're looking for. And today we're just going to share some things with you. All right, guys, so before we get started, let me make one disclaimer. This is not financial advice, and whatever you do with it is at your own risk. So let's just get right into the video. All right, guys, let's go to the whiteboard, and I'm going to draw two people on this whiteboard and a few things underneath it that I want you to think about. So we have our first man here. He's not happy. He's angry. Okay, we're going to give him some, his hair's on fire. This is the guy that goes to get a financing, and he is turned down. He gets denied for multiple reasons. If he does get a rate, it's high interest. He gets quoted a very high rate. Lenders don't want to work with him. We know what that's like. And maybe it's a very slow process, very slow approval. Then we have our second fella here. We'll put him in blue. He is very happy. Why is he happy? Because he goes to finance a new truck or equipment or whatever, and he's approved very quickly. Very competitive rate. Multiple lenders want to work with him. He's got people fighting over to get him money. And it's a very smooth process. It goes very quickly. All right, guys, there we go. That's what we have today when people go get loans. We have this guy and we have that guy. Today we want to look at it and say, how can we get from this guy to this guy? Because this is where we all want to be. Because when you get to this stage, the world opens up. There's opportunity everywhere for you. You can grow your business. You can buy new trucks. You can buy any equipment that you want if the banks work with you. But in this stage, it's very, very, very difficult. And let me tell you, everybody starts over here. That's where we have all started. I started there. You started there. But did you stay there? So many people today go through their entire business career staying somewhere over here because of mistakes that they make over and over again. What I want you to do is start out here and then very quickly get to here. And that's the stuff that we're going to cover today, because there's some mistakes that people make over and over and over again, and they need to stop if they want to get to here. Banks want to loan money. That's how they make a living. But banks do not want to repossess equipment. Always remember that when you go into these deals, the bank does not want to repossess the equipment. They want to loan money. They get paid for that. That's how they make a living. And they want to make sure that they never get that equipment back. So that's why they can get so picky and so cautious at certain times. All right, here's the first step that we want to talk about. You have to start. Now, what do I mean by that? So guys, Banks want to see activity. Why do they want to see your bank statements? Why do they want to know your credit score? They want to see what's going on. Bank statements tell a lot about a person. I've had many lenders tell me when they have a guy apply for a loan and they pull his bank statements and he doesn't even have enough money in his checking account to cover the first loan payment, he said, we go to zero almost every time. So they want to see activity. So guys, you have to start. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of different ways that you can start. You got to start in your business. Now, you might have to start at the very bottom, but you got to show activity. You might have to start with, if we're going to talk about the trash industry, you might have to start with a dump trailer. You might have to start with a used truck. You might have to start with a Hooklift cable trailer setup with just a few dumpsters. But just start. Banks want to see activity. When there is no activity, banks are very, very slow to loan money. We hear it all the time. The little guy can't get ahead. How does the little guy ever start? Well, that's going to be up to you. If you want to get to this, you got to start. And you got to figure out, what can I do today to start? And there's a lot of different ways that you can go. Another thing is like a credit card. Guys, I'm not going to sit here and tell you got to get a credit card to build a credit score, but it does help. So I haven't had a personal credit card for many, many years. I don't even have a business credit card. We use debit cards for everything. But here's what's interesting. Quite a few years ago, I had a little farm, and I still have it. And I thought, man, if I'd have a credit card to put some of these expenses on there and pay the bill once a month, it'd be so much easier. So I got a credit card with it was like a $2,500 a month limit. And immediately my credit score started to climb because I paid the bill every month, and they kept upping the amount of money that I could put on there. And finally I realized one day, well, because of this credit card, my credit score is climbing. Again, that's activity. A credit card is activity. If you get a credit card, pay it every month. Pay it in full is a really, really good thing. I highly recommend that. Always pay it in full. But that's activity, and it will help banks see that you are somebody that pays your bills. So the little guy can get ahead. He just has to get started. So another thing that I like about this industry is there's so very few repossessions. We always tell our lenders, like, hey, if you lend this guy the money and he defaults on the loan, we would love to get the truck back. And I tell you what, that has happened less than 5 times in the 7 years that we've been doing this. So that's really, really good for the industry to know that it's that strong, that guys that take out a loan, pay it back, and the bank doesn't get the truck back. So what are some more ways that you can start? I had one lender tell me this. He said, I have no problem working with a startup, somebody that has never been in business on their own. He said, what really helps is if they've been in that industry. So see, he said, take a guy that's been running a roll-off truck for another company and he wants to go out on his own. He said, that's a lot easier to loan money to a guy like that than versus somebody that maybe just only ever worked at McDonald's and now he wants to go buy a truck or a trailer and get in business. They look at that and say, does the guy know the business? Will he be able to turn a profit with that? So I thought that was interesting that banks actually look at that. So there you go, guys. How can you start? Go get started, make activity so banks can see that you'll do what you say. All right, guys, here's the second thing that you can do to go from here to here. You have to be honest. I cannot tell you how many guys have called in to buy a truck and then they say, hey, I need to get financing. So we always ask a couple questions. You know, are you a startup? How long have you been in business? And what's your credit score? And I cannot believe how many times guys tell us our credit score, they'll be like, oh, I think it's like a 780. And then when we actually go pull it, it's a 550. Guys, most of you know what your credit score is, so you have to be honest. The lender is going to find out. They dig for everything, because remember, they're in the business to loan money to get interest, not to get your equipment back. So if they don't know you, they're going to do their due diligence and make sure that they have done their homework to make sure they never get that truck back. So if there's things on your credit that you don't want them to know about, lying is not going to help. So you have to be honest. Telling the lender that, yes, I had a credit card, my ex-wife, it was in my name, my ex-wife took it, she ran it up, I'm not responsible. If it's in your name, it was your responsibility, and they're going to find that. Lenders will dig and dig. Lenders go to zero when they figure out you're lying. I've seen that many times. When they figure it out, they go to zero. I had a customer here some time ago. He called in, wanted a truck. We got to the financing part of it. He said, do you think I can get a loan for this truck? I said, well, I started asking him questions. I said, do you have any money to put down? And he said, yeah, I got 50% to put down. And I said, yeah, you shouldn't have any problem at all. Well, that was a mistake I made. I should not have told him that he shouldn't have any problem at all because I should have done some more digging. But he went to lender after lender after lender, and he got turned down by every single one of them. And I was so confused. If he had 50% down, how could he get turned down? Well, there was a lot of bad stuff in his history. There was a lot of unpaid credit card bills. There was a lot of late payments on different loans he had taken. And that was a surprise to me. When banks see that, they say, hey, I don't care if he has 50% down. If he's going to be always a late payer, we're not giving him the money. He called me a scammer then because he said I told him that he could get a loan. So after that, I tried to be very, very careful in promising that to people because I don't know till the lender actually digs into it. Now, I will tell you another thing is there are some things that raise red flags when lenders look at it. And let's say maybe there's a lot of different loans out there. Maybe you have some car loans. Maybe you have personal and business tied together. Those are some things that can raise a red flag. And there are companies out there that can help clean up your credit history. I hardly know anything about it, but I know there's people out there. And there's one company that I've heard about. I know they've helped other people. I don't have any experience with them. I met him one time, talked to him, and they are Blue Sky Biz Solutions. So if you just look it up, Blue Sky Biz with a Z, Blue Sky Biz Solutions, that's what they do, is help clean up your credit so that you can get a loan. So if lenders have told you that your credit is just, there's too many red flags, maybe you should look into a company that can help you figure out how to clean all that stuff up. The fellow that runs that business, his name is Paul Childers. So again, I've never used a company like that. I don't know much about them, but I've heard good stories from other people, so it might be something to look into. And one thing that I've heard many times now in talking to some of these different lenders is there is still lenders out there that will listen to your story. There's a lot of lenders that simply plug in the information into a database, and if it spits out approved or denied, that's what they go with. But there are lenders that will listen, and they'll say, okay, so tell me about that credit card that didn't get paid. Tell me about that tax bill. I'll listen, and if we can come up with a solution, we might still look at you. So that was very encouraging to me that lenders will still listen to your story. All right, the third thing on our list of what to do to go from here to here, you have to partner with the right lender. So that's a really, really important one. So one thing that we always tell our customers when they call in and say, hey, I need to get a loan on this truck. What kind of options do you have for me? And we always tell people we work with some amazing lenders, and we do. We work with some really good lenders, but we always tell them this: if you have a relationship with your local bank, if you've loaned money before for a car, a pickup, a property, maybe you should check there first, because there's a lot of local banks that will work with their customers if they've already done business with them. That has been my story. I have an amazing relationship with my banker. And you know, when I started in business in 2007, I asked another businessman, who's the best bank here in Clare to deal with on a commercial whatever loan, you know, whatever I got to do? And they said, Isabella Bank. And I went in there and I met the banker, talked to him, and that guy is still my banker to this day, and he has always done the right thing for me. He has helped me more than you can ever imagine. There's no reason for me to look for other lenders because he's always helped me. But I can say that I know that I've always done the right thing too for him, and so we have a really, really good connection. The thing that I like about him is he's the kind of guy, if I take out a loan, this is literally has happened. I have met him at a gas station on a Friday afternoon, and we signed the loan documents on the hood of his truck. He's in his flip-flops and shorts because he's headed to his lake house for the weekend. That's how I like to do business. You know, that's the style that I like. So working with your local bank can be a good thing. Now, here is one thing about local banks, though. They don't always understand the equipment side of it. They might understand a pickup, a car, or a house, but a hooklift truck, they might say, what is a hooklift truck? You want to use a truck to haul dumpsters. They might see the value of the chassis, but they don't understand the value of the equipment on the back. the Hooklift, the tarp system, the completed unit. They don't have a database that they can plug this 2026 International with a swap loader. They don't have something that they can plug that information in and it says it's worth $155,000. So they sometimes are not the right person to deal with because they don't understand the equipment. And that's where the other part of this comes in, working with the right lenders. So there's a lot of lenders out there that will loan money on equipment, trucks like this, because that's the industry that they work in. We have lenders that primarily work in the trash industry. They do hook lifts, they do roll-off trucks, they do front loaders, the rear load trucks. They understand that trash industry. They go to the trade shows, they go to the truck shows, they go to these dumpster expos that people have. They show up there. I talked to a lender, one of my lenders I talked to him when I interviewed him, he said, Marlon, I go to all these places. I want to learn all I can about the trucks, the equipment, and the customers so that I'm better versed in helping these guys get financing. So that's the lender that you want to work with because he understands and he'll listen to your story. Those guys told me that too. I'll listen to the customer's story. I'll look at their business plan. They put together a business plan that this is what they're projecting on doing. He said, I'll listen to that. So partner with the right lender. So just because your local bank turned you down doesn't mean you can't get a loan. You need to look elsewhere. There might be other people that can help you. And guys, we have a list of those people here. So if you got turned down on a local level, you know what? Give us a call. We might be able to help you, connect you with a lender that will help. All right, guys, here's one bit of information that I did want to provide with you. So in our years of doing this and working with lenders, trying to get you financed, we've learned some things. We've fumbled our way, but we've tried to make this process easier and better for you as the customer. So here's what we do. We always encourage you, if you want to buy a truck from us, hey, call us, fill out our credit application. It's a very simple process to fill out. And then we can take that credit application and send it out to multiple lenders. That way, you don't have to call every one of these lenders and send them all the same information. We can do that for you. That's what we have tried to do, is simplify this process. And so that's why it's really important that you give us the right information, fill out the credit application correctly, and you can go right to our website and you can fill it out right there. The process is very simple, and then let somebody on our team do all the hard work. And we'll look at your application and we'll say, hey, there's these 3 lenders that we can send it to that we feel they can help you, and then let them fight over it. And that leaves you to do what you're good at. That's hauling trash, whatever it is, running your business, and you don't have to get bogged down. And then we can come back and say, these are the options that we have. And most likely the lender that looks the best is going to call you and say, hey, I've got an approval for you at this rate. What do you think? So that is something we've done here for you. We've tried to make this process a lot simpler because we know how frustrating it can be. And we've done a lot of work here, and we have some really good people on our team that handle all that. So guys, it's that simple. Go to our website, fill out the credit app, and we can help you. All right, let's go to the next point here of how to go from the guy on the left to the guy on the right. All right, work with multiple lenders. Now, that might sound a little bit confusing, and it can get very confusing, but what I'm saying is if you get turned down by one lender, don't stop there. I have seen deals happen many times where they went to the second lender and sometimes the third lender. It comes back to the right lender. So you might have to sometimes check with a couple different people. So there's lenders that are out there. They will work with startups. They will work with guys that have only been in business 1 year or 2 years. There's other lenders, 5-year minimum. Huntington Bank. If you're not in business for a full 5 years, they will not look at you. And the full 5 years is for that LLC or that DBA. They don't care if you were 2 years as, you were just running under your personal name. It's got to be that business has to be in business 5 years. So again, 5-year minimum, but then they have better interest rates. So sometimes you have to figure out what category you fall in and what lender is going to help you. And that's why you have to sometimes check with different lenders. The other reason people like to check with different lenders is hoping that they'll get a lower interest rate. And guys, we all want the lowest interest rate. I get that. And sometimes it's tough because the lender does look at you and he says, you're higher risk, you're not going to get a lower interest rate. But it is good to check around. I've had many customers, they think we have a lot of really good lenders and maybe we can get some interest rate that's way lower, and then they find out that the interest rate is exactly the same as what their local bank will do, and then they just go back to their local bank because that's the person they have the relationship with. So it is good to shop around a little bit. That can get confusing because every lender is going to want you to probably fill out maybe another credit app, or he's going to ask for all this information. And I've seen a lot of people get frustrated. They're like, I gave it to one lender, why do I need to give it to you? Like, and then sometimes the deal falls apart. So for myself, I'm not that guy that'll shop around. I say, hey, if he's going to help me, if the interest rate is reasonable, I'm going to go with you. The other thing is, guys, don't get hung up on the interest rate. If you say that you can't make it at 10% and you got to get that down to 8%, and you're going to shop every lender until you find that, because that's going to make all the difference in your business. I'm going to tell you right now, you probably have bigger problems if that 2% is going to make or break you. So don't get hung up on that. I'd rather you just get the loan, get your equipment, and get to work. And then you can always refinance down the road. You can always shop around later and see if you can get a lower rate. But don't get hung up on that. I still come back to the fact that it's better to start and get going than to shop around and shop around. All right, the fifth thing about going from the guy on the left to the guy on the right. Should you buy a new truck and take out a loan, or should you pay cash for a used truck? And there's pros and cons both ways. You buy a used truck, as the truck over there. That's a trade-in that we took in. It's a great truck. A lot of life left. It'll make someone a really, really good truck. A lot of guys can sometimes swing it. They can pay that $80,000, $90,000 for that truck, and they have no truck payment. And guys, that's very appealing. What happens is they've tied up all their money in the used truck, and they don't have enough cash for operating. Guys, let me tell you, you got to have cash reserves when you're running a business. You got to have some liquid cash, because you're going to have unexpected expenses come up. You're going to have insurance that you didn't think about. You're going to have plates. You're going to have tires. You're just going to have a lot of things that's going to take cash, and you can't go get a loan for that. It's hard to get a loan because you need 8 new tires, or the insurance was higher than what you thought, or your plate fees were more than you thought. It's hard to get a loan for that. So I will tell you, if you can get a loan on a new truck or even on a used truck, keep your cash liquid so that you can use that for operating expenses. So the other thing is, guys, I am the guy that likes used trucks. I am that guy. I've had many, many used trucks over the years. When I had the towing business, I ran all used trucks. I never bought a new truck for that. Would I do things different now if I started another towing company or a garbage business? I think I probably would. And here's why. Here's my take on it. As much as I love used trucks, the new trucks, and I'm talking not brand new, I'm talking 2015 and newer, which 2015 is getting to be an old truck. That's not that new anymore. These trucks are getting harder and harder to work on, and it's hard for you to work on it yourself. So you're going to have to hire somebody else to work on it, take it to a shop. And I tell you guys, the labor rates, the parts are so expensive that it can eat you alive. It can consume you. And when that truck is down, your income is at zero if you just have one truck. I was just talking to a customer the other day. He has an old Sterling, and the truck went down. And that thing was in the shop for 6 weeks, and it still wasn't fixed. And it was at a very reputable shop. And it was an electrical issue, and they went through everything. And finally they said, it's the computer, the engine computer. The ECM is bad. They changed the ECM. He approved it. They changed it. The truck still didn't start. And they told him he has to pay for that ECM because they can't take it off and return it. So there he is, stuck with this huge repair bill, 6 weeks down, and still a truck that's not running. Guys, that'll absolutely kill you. So you really, really got to think about that. If you take out a loan on a new truck, you know exactly what your payment's going to be. The truck is under warranty. The chance of that truck being broke down for weeks on end at a dealership, yes, does that happen once in a while? Yes, there's horror stories out there. A guy got a brand new truck, the injectors went bad, ruined the fuel system. You hear that once in a while, but it's not the norm. But what I can tell you, on a used truck, that's the norm. Guys, I've lived in that world for many years. I had a truck repair shop for 16 years. I've been around used trucks my entire life. That is the norm on a used truck. A lot of problems, a lot of repair bills, and then the engine goes out. And guys, an engine rebuild is a lengthy process, and it's very expensive. So I really want you to think about that. Would you rather keep your cash and take out a loan and grow your business that way? It really comes back to you. If you can't work on your truck yourself, you probably are better off going that route. Now, if you're a guy like me that loves working on his own equipment, you can save a ton of money. And if you want to spend your weekends working on trucks, there you go. Another thing that I see is there's a trend going on right now. I see a lot of younger guys getting into this business. And I'm not talking just trash business. It could be towing, it could be transportation. Younger guys are getting in it. They don't understand the mechanics side of it. They just want to run a truck to make money. So these younger guys getting into it, I think they should be in newer trucks so that they can hit the road, make money doing that, and not being broke down, because a lot of these younger guys don't know how to work on their own equipment. So my take on it is, taking out a loan is probably a good idea so that you have cash to run your business. All right, let's go to the sixth thing on this list here. All right, how do we go from the guy on the left to the guy on the right? Work with the process. There I've seen a lot of customers get very frustrated when they're in financing and the lender keeps asking for more information. Guys, I know it. I hate paperwork. I hate getting stuff to a bank. I'm like, you guys should just know you probably already have it. Why do you need it? It's very frustrating because you know what? You and I have work to do. We have other things we want to do. We got a much bigger thing to pursue than running after paperwork. But I'm going to tell you, if you want to get a loan, work with the process. Get them what they're asking for in a timely manner. Send things to them as quickly as you can. When they call, answer your phone. If you can't answer, call them right back. Lenders do not like working with customers that don't get them the information they need, because then they start saying, is this customer going to pay his loan? They start asking stuff like that. So stay very responsive. What are some things that they need? They need your driver's license. They need a credit application filled out. They'll probably need 3 months of bank statements. They'll need business financials. They might even ask for a business plan. Get that stuff to them quickly. Guys, I have seen approvals happen so quickly with people that work with the system. And let me tell you another quick story. December 29 of this past year, that was on a Monday morning. A guy called me at 9 a.m. This is just before New Year's. And he said, Marlon, I am going to buy a truck before the end of the year. I want that black International that's on your lot, and let's make it happen. I'm like, great. I'm thinking this is a cash buyer. He's going to write a check. We're all good. And he goes, oh, but I need financing. And I thought, man, this is Monday. Tomorrow's Tuesday, and on Wednesday is New Year's Eve, and the banks are closed. We have 24 hours to get this guy approval. So I asked him some questions, and it sounded like he had been in business like for 4 years, no, 7 years, and it sounded good, but I've heard that story so many times. But I said, all right, we have 24 hours to get this done if you want to pay for it before the end of the year. And I called my best lender in my book, and I said, here's the story. I've got a guy that wants to buy a truck. We have to fund by tomorrow or the deal is off. Because he told me if we can't get it done, the deal's off, I'm not buying a truck. And the lender said, you know what? I'm going to go to work and I'm going to make it happen. And you know what? He did. But guess what? That customer got him every single bit of information that he needed immediately that Monday. And Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, they funded. So that was a great success story. But obviously the guy had good credit. The lender quickly saw that he was a good guy. But the biggest thing that stood out to me is the customer got everything to him in a very, very timely manner. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. Guys, I cannot tell you how bad I want you to go from here to here so that you can buy the equipment that you need to run your business successfully and grow it. At the end of the day, financing, it isn't emotional. It's math. The numbers got to work. You got to look at it on how the lender looks at it. And that's what I want you to do through this video. I just want you to think about how the lender looks at it. He doesn't want the truck back. So don't fight the process. Be honest. Show activity in your business. Work with the right lender. Stay very responsive in the process. And then you're going to move from that guy to this guy, which is where I want you to be. So guys, I hope that helped you out. Leave some comments down below. Tell us what you think. Tell us some things that you learned to work with lenders. And at the end of the day, we're here to help you. We have trucks here in our lot that are finished. We have trucks that we can build. We have trucks on order. We can help you with the Hooklift truck. And again, we have some very amazing lenders that we work with that know this industry And I will tell you that they will fight to get you a loan if the things line up, but you have to do your part. So guys, we're here to help you. I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. And if there's anything we can do, just call us. And until next time, keep it quality.